If God created the universe, who created God?
All right, it's a very common question, you know. In fact, I remember maybe about 35 years ago, you know, this atheist asked me this question. He knew that I was a believer, a strong believer, you know, long time ago. And they keep on repeating the same thing. And he said, there's one thing that believers can never answer like this, you know. I said, what is it? I was, you know, surprised. What is it? Tell me, you know. And asked that question. If God created everything, who created God? All right? Now, first of all, you know, if God was created by someone else, then that God is not God. Because creator creates. Creator doesn't need doesn't need to be created. So that is not a God. But let us say hypothetically, all right? You know, someone else created God. What will your next question will be? Who created that God? Another God, another God, another God, another God. It's impossible to enter into an infinite regress, you know? That God, that God, that God, that God. Meaning that at the end, you will have to come to a point where you will have to assume or accept that there is one God at the end. He is timeless. He doesn't need to be created, and he created all the rest. Then why would you need all these false gods in between? You know, it's illogical. So it is easier to accept that there's one creator. But in regards to this question, I usually use some analogies as well. There are some scholarly analogies. Like one is from Bediüzzaman Said Nursi. He says that think about a train, you know, with many cars, wagons. And if you ask a question like, what pulls the last wagon? You would say the one in front. What pulls that one? The one in front, the one in front. When you come to the locomotive, it is illogical to ask the same question. What pulls the locomotive? Locomotive is self-powered. It pulls itself and it pulls all the rest. This is Bediüzzaman. Fethullah Gülen's argument goes something like that. He says that if you're sitting on a chair with no two back legs, obviously you would fall back because there are no back legs on it. And in order to support yourself and avoid falling backwards, you placed another chair underneath the chair you're sitting on at the back. But that one has two legs too. Then you put another one, you put another one. Now you can put 1 billion chairs at the back. If you're sitting in the front chair and not falling back, there must be a last chair with 4 legs at the end that doesn't need support. And I have one argument myself. I use the dominoes argument. You know how you line up all the dominoes, and when you push one of them, they keep on dropping onto each other. And I say, if you see a line of dominoes in front of you, continuing to fall on top of each other, and this is happening continuously, which is time that as we live in. If you look to the right and you don't see the end of it, and if you look to the left, you don't see the beginning of it, you cannot assume that the line of dominoes goes on forever because you can see them dropping in front of you. Then you would automatically need to assume that the first domino, there must be a first domino at the very beginning, which fell onto the other. And that's how the chain reaction started. You would automatically accept that. Now, one more thing in regards to this, because we know at the moment, this is what scientific evidence say anyway, space, time, matter, energy had a beginning. Now, our current universe we are talking about, which is 13.8 billion years ago. We know there was a point where time equals 0, t equals 0. So time has a beginning. We know time is not infinite in the past. But if someone were to assume and say, what if time is infinite in the past? Philosophically, this can be refuted. How? Because if we build a spaceship, for example, or a time machine, let us say time machine, and decide to go back in history, no matter how much back we travel to, how far back we travel to, if time was infinite at the past, beginningless, then we would never get to a beginning. We would never get to it because you can keep on going billions and billions of years. Technically, if you can never go back to a beginning, then you should not arrive at the present from the beginning as well, because there is no beginning. So philosophically, time is, something that had a beginning And technically it will have an ending as well, because it is connected to space. We do not separate space from time. We say space-time. We say the universe has 4 dimensions. 3 of them is space and 1 of them is time. So they are connected. It had a beginning. It will certainly have an end, the universe, and it's space-time. It will certainly have an end. And there are various scenarios that indicate to this. So therefore, when we ask, if God caused everything, what caused God, then you are resembling God, an all-knowing and all-powerful being, to the matter he has created. And you're saying, what caused that? And the reality in Islamic theology is God is musabbibul asbab, meaning that he is the cause of all causes that doesn't need to be caused. Because if you put God into, a contingent being like the universe, and you say it's dependable, it needs causes, then that being needs another cause as well. And the chain of causality cannot infinitely regress. You would need to come to a point where you need to accept that there is only one creator who created everything, who does not need to be created, because he is self-sustaining. Qiyamu bi nafsi.